on fire today, so anyone want to back me up on anything?
Do my best.
Call to order of the Environmental Advisory Council, July 20th, public meeting. The first item is call to order is the moment of silence. And a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Good evening, everyone, and roll call this evening would be Cindy Mahala here, Jana Cravanas here, Dane Shoemaker
Here.
Sheila O'Sullivan Beanie here, present, and Joe Pinto. Joe is not here presently, but I'm sure will be here shortly. All right. Item number 4 on our agenda is considering the approval of the agenda. I just had an email right before this meeting, and if we want to add it as an agenda item, or we can mention it. We got an official request from Parks and Rec for us to consider planting trees and bushes in front of Drexel Lodge Park. Do we need to add that as an agenda item, or can we just discuss it at the end? Because we would only be concerned about the plants and the shrubs, not the trees, because that would be shade tree. So should we add that, or is that something I could just discuss at the end?
If you're going to take an action, then you need to add it as an official agenda item. If you're just stating that they're wanting to do that and that you can act on it in the August meeting, then I think you're fine. I don't know when they're doing it. So
What I will do,
it's not one I know there's a lot of projects going on, but I'm not familiar with that one.
I will not make it an action item then, because we could just discuss it and then come back, because they're still going to have to go through their boards to do their official process too.
Okay.
All right. I just wanted clarification on that. Great.
Yep.
All right, public comment for agenda items only. Seeing that there's no one in the public, I think I'm sorry, did we considering approving the agenda? All those in favor of?
Well, you don't have a motion. You need a motion for.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. There was a motion made to approve the agenda by Dane Shoemaker, seconded by Donna Cabanas. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion stands. Perfect. All right. Public comment for agenda items. As I mentioned, there's no one in the public today, so there'll be no public comments. The minutes, considering approving the minutes for the June 15th, 2023. Anyone have any questions about the minutes? One thing I did see with the minutes at the end for the agenda items, we talked about open space and conservation. That was like for the next meeting. So I think that was just something we were discussing for Cindy to go to a conference, not necessarily something that we added to the agenda. So that was gonna be thoughts. Okay, yeah. So I wanted clarity on that one. So I don't think it's a really big issue, and it doesn't impact any of the his great notes that he did on that. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes of our June 15th? Motion was made. I'm off today.
Was there a motion? I missed it if there was.
Make a motion. I will make a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th, 2023.
I second.
Seconded by Cindy Mahalo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion stands. Perfect. All right. Item number 7, the land development review, discussion and possible action on the Aronimink revisions from the engineer, the Chester Valley Engineers, pages 3, 7, 10, and 11. All right. Now this is received. Cindy, you did this letter for the Aronimink.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So was everything acceptable to what the revisions showed?
I wouldn't say, it didn't appear to me in the documents that I looked at, that they had specifically addressed those items. I didn't see the new landscape plan. I looked at the first email that was sent, which was, and commented on that, which was sheets 3, 7, and 8, the original and the revised, and I had focused my review on those and my comments on those. I did look back at the letter we had shared with them, and it wasn't obvious to me that they didn't include them, but I was focused more on the other things.
All right. Is there anything else that you can add on that item?
I can't really add much on this other than, as I understand it, most of the changes they made were related to we're trying to address some problems they were having. One being in the steep slopes, and two related to where the stormwater was going to not be in a place that was beneficial. So they were going to have to readjust that. And that's what my understanding was, that most of the changes were related to.
Yes, but when I did a side-by-side comparison of the 3 sheets that were provided, I was surprised to see a lot of changes I hadn't expected to see. For example, and I don't know if Rose can pull this up, but on sheet 3 revised, the pools were totally redesigned and the pool deck expanded. And they've added 2 retaining walls, one of which appears to be 15 feet high, which hadn't been there before. The Belmont snack food facility has been expanded. It wasn't clear to me the amount of the additional impervious surface. And I didn't know if that had additional impervious surface had been accommodated in an updated stormwater management plan. You know, we have kind of out of sync with the engineer's reports and things like this. I didn't get to check the dates. A bathhouse has been added. And again, what is the amount of impervious surface, and is the stormwater management plan, you know, accommodate that? Then I noticed that stormwater management features 300 and 400 appeared on sheet 3, but not on the revised sheet. And I didn't know whether that's because they were on some other page, or I guess they've been changed. Then on sheet 7 revised, they've added a driveway, like a drop-off loop that appears to be like so people can drop off their kids, and they added a children's pool, which is on a different side. And then they added some walkways that take you over to this drop-off area. So there were a lot of changes. And then on sheet 8, it looked like the new tennis court had been moved over like 5 or 10 feet. But then a retaining wall appeared to be added, and it looked like the relocated cart path that used to be adjacent to the tennis court now looks like it's under it or something. It was hard to figure out. So there were a lot of changes, and that's kind of what distracted me of, you know, I saw things that were beyond just like addressing the engineer's concerns about stormwater and steep slopes. It seems to me they took the opportunity to redesign a lot of things.
I would say, I think that was my interpretation when I looked at it. It was more than, I think they went in to address those, and then in the process did a lot more.
And it's so different, like the pool. If you look at sheet 3, it's now like a lap pool, and the diving pool is attached to it rather than a separate pool, and the children's pool is moved over somewhere else. So it's really
Like starting out.
very, very different. The Belmont has been expanded, like I said, the driveways, new driveway, new sidewalks. So I don't know what the sequence is of the engineers having reviewed.
I don't think they've
change.
finished it yet. That's like, I know they got it, but I don't know that they finished it. You
Right.
know? I don't. Okay.
And our concern was, we had given some comments before based on the old plans, but this really, as you mentioned, is really a new plan. So it's almost like And I don't think Cindy or I had the time or the depth to go into seeing. what
Well,
we-
and some of our comments were more,
Related to the slope.
were suggestions like native plant, incorporating native plants and things
Yeah.
like that. They were not, I don't want to say corrective or specific. They were more,
I think any place
Suggestions
where
and
your
requests.
comments were, as you said, suggestive, I think is the term you used, but if, as long as that is, I think you would want to continue to have those suggestions. Like, I don't think anything like that has changed.
yeah.
And then I guess the question is, with what you've seen, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of change, and I agree with you. It's more than just simple of moving just to accommodate what we had asked them to address. The question that I would have in the review, without having the engineer's comments, did you see anything that was like an alarming to you and that we would want the engineer to at least comment on?
Impervious surface.
Well,
And then
just-
we'll address,
And
I mean,
they'll address that. I'm
yeah, and
assuming they'll-
here's what I will say. Aronimink's big enough that they can do a pretty big build and you're not going to hit the limit of impervious coverage, right? I mean, they're just not. What we, and the engineer is going to catch and make sure they're doing stormwater equal to
Right.
that amount.
Right.
So I'm not so worried about that.
No,
It would be more of an issue of, is there something else environmentally that you see based on this that you go, I think the engineer at least needs to look at this. And I realize it's hard to know that just
Yeah.
looking at this real quick.
yeah, I didn't see anything that triggered concern. It's just, I would say that our previous recommendations stand.
Stand.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so then we don't need to take any action. Okay,
No.
all right. All right, on item number 7.2, discussion and possible actions on the Subbio 3734 and 3740 West Chester Pike revisions. Now, this is the two buildings, medical right now, that will be converged into one. And I saw the drawings and review, and we gave a rather, again, suggestions and comments. We were greatly concerned about the back. The only spot of trees in there that they would be taking down that weren't noted on the plans, and the back 14-foot wide driveway that was going to come through to connect the both properties. So I did see they brought up because one building presently does collect its rainwater and harvest in the back, but the other does not. And they mentioned that they would be doing that. Anything else in the plan that you could see, Steve? Because I think we're concerned about the amount of, again, this property will be mostly impervious coverage.
Yep.
I mean,
That would be my biggest concern
and
is,
that was our concern.
If I can mention, I went over right before the meeting and looked at it again, because in looking at the plans, they finally did itemize the trees that
Yes.
were going to be removed, and I believe there were 9 trees, some 12 inches, some 15, one 18.
And they
Right
weren't in the original
now-
plans. That was interesting.
What?
They were not noted in the original plans
No,
until we pushed
no,
back.
no, right. So now they have noted them and they're on one of those pages. There's a little list of them. I don't know if that's it there. That might be it there, Rose.
back up.
It's in a little table on the right-hand corner.
yep,
But that's very sad
Yes.
because there's so much pavement in that area. And this was like a little green oasis with these nice shady trees on this office building. And like, why did they need, I know they want to connect the buildings, but why do they need to connect the parking lots? What's the point? And I would recommend not approving it because unless they have like some quota of number of parking spaces they have to achieve. I went in one parking lot, I looked, and then I went out on West Chester Pike and went around. So why not have parking lots A and B? And tell people, when you come, go to this entrance or go to that entrance, or I guess they want to connect the buildings and have like one main entrance. And so why not put a little sidewalk? And tell people just park in either lot and walk. It's beautiful back there. There's
Yeah.
a little picnic table and grass and trees, and they're gonna cut this down. It's just gonna be asphalt.
And
more asphalt.
And my concern was for the residents behind that. So if you are removing that many trees, you're increasing
The
their sound.
heat, the light.
Like you said, the light, the heat, sound, everything is impacting them. And there's
runoff.
no buffer for that one resident that's right there. There's nothing. So, I mean, if you've been there, and I was there on a hot day as well, and you could just feel the heat radiating and even the trash location where they're trying to change that. So I'm concerned because it just.
Then I think that if you want to put that into, your statement from environmental standpoint, if there's not a reason for additional parking, and I don't remember seeing additional parking, I just remember the two being connected.
Yeah, because it
so-
was like, they said, they referred to it as like, I think a 14-foot driveway connector.
Yeah,
And it made it sound like it was just 14 foot, but it was through the entire path.
Yeah.
right?
Right where
Yeah.
those trees
Yeah.
are. And then there's even, if you look at that, but slide it over so we can see the left. There is a very large Zelkova tree. To the left where you come in the parking lot on the left. It's right there. Yeah, right where your cursor is. Like they're proposing, I think that tree has a big X through it. Does it? Can you see that, Rose? I can't see it. There's an X through the tree you're pointing to. Oh, that's it. Maybe that's not the page, but there is a page that shows which trees are going to be taken out. And it seemed that one, it would be the page that has the landscape list on it.
Is there a max, oh, I couldn't find this in the codes, of what percentage of the property can be considered impervious and.
Oh, yeah.
So isn't this already in that zone? Because, I mean, I don't, other than the front, maybe 15 feet of grass is the
Just-
area.
the only thing I would say to you, it does look like there's an extra.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I looked at that tree, like, why?
Yeah.
Why take that tree out? It's in a grassy area. You can get in the parking lot fine.
Here's what I would say. I mean, I think those are good comments, and I think that, to make those comments is beneficial. Is there an absolute essential in connecting the two parking lots? What are, those kind of things? And if they do, can they do it in a way that's less impactful? And then the only other comment that you made that what I don't know, and like, I haven't talked to the engineer, have they reviewed it? And I haven't looked at it close enough to know whether it falls within the commercial. Commercial allows more impervious than residential, just by the nature of what it is. But there's no buffers here, so I don't know how they're meeting their buffer requirements unless the attached properties are also commercial. And I haven't looked specifically at this one that closely to know whether the attached properties are also commercial.
So Steve, who will like?
That's the
assess-
engineer's review.
Okay.
I mean, like Andy and the engineer both review any project like this for the purposes of zoning. And so they go through and they confer, and that, they look at it and they go, yep, this is within zoning or this is not within zoning. And then they come back and say, if you're going to do this, you need a variance and those kind of things. And
so
I don't think they're that far along yet.
Who's not that far along?
I don't think they've
The engineers?
reviewed the project between the engineer and Andy. I don't think they've gone through.
Okay. 'cause
This
I
is
was gonna
a
say,
relative-
I don't remember seeing a letter. an
Yeah,
engineer
I don't
told
think
me.
they're that far along.
But when is this going through before the planning commission? Next week?
I didn't happen to, I did see the planning commission minutes for next week and I don't recall what they are. You don't have them if you do. We'll take a look. I'll see if I can,
So-
I'll try to
Well,
do
we
that
need to
while
make
we're
a comment.
talking.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I move that the EAC draft a comment letter to Subbio about the Subbio development, questioning the need for additional parking because it would require the removal of the trees, and that we're concerned about the various impacts to air quality, heat, privacy, stormwater management, biodiversity loss. And to request the applicant to consider alternative methods of giving their patrons access to the consolidated building.
And could we make a suggestion, since that front area is a grass and then a flower bed, if they could improve the amount of their shrubs and things and reduce the grass? Because that's a great presence on the pike, by providing shrubs and flowers and plants. They'll still provide the beautification that what they would like without having to have that grass. And I did notice on the side, you know where that tree is, that area? The only thing I was thinking of, those roots are coming up. That's wondering why I'm wondering if they're trying to take that tree out. Because when you walked around that side property, you saw the unevenness of the pavement. Maybe that's why they're trying to take that tree out.
The one tree I specifically noticed was right on Row Lane, right when you came in.
Yes, and when you walk along that, you'll see
Okay.
the pavements have started to come up. I'm wondering why that's maybe. But if we could,
There are pavement alternatives
Yes.
that they could use.
Yes.
And not have to remove the tree.
yeah, so suggest that as well.
You know, or if they, I mean, if they did end up combining the parking lots, and I get it, right? I mean, there's gonna be a way to drive through it. I mean, it makes sense. They're gonna combine the buildings, but is there a way to compensate by planting additional trees up front or putting more on the borders or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, but. He's talking.
It's
like-
gonna be,
Yeah,
it will
first.
be decades before the little dinky trees that they
Yeah.
plant will achieve it.
Right.
Will
Yeah.
begin to compensate. And in the meantime, you're gonna have this bare heat island. And
Right.
right now you have nice trees and why do the parking lots need to be attached?
Yeah.
Why do people need to drive through?
Is that the end?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm just,
Yeah.
that's gonna be their argument. They're gonna come back and
I
fight.
understand from their
right?
staff
Yeah.
perspective, that's what, right now, we're the only place they have a chance to go out and eat lunch and have
Sure.
in a moment, you know,
Yeah.
so. If we make those recommendations, anyone else have any comments on that? In the meantime, before we started this, Rose, if you could let the record reflect that Joe Pinto did arrive well before this, but we didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, he arrived at 12 after.
But he was there and he worked so hard to get here, so I don't want to.
Don't worry, I'll also the notes. I'll make sure I'm in the minutes.
Joe is an honorable man. He's just joking for the record.
Okay, so I was in the middle of making a motion,
Sorry.
so that's my motion, and I will draft it and circulate it
And
tomorrow
I
morning.
second your
and I-
motion. Okay, a motion was made by Cindy Mahalo, seconded by Sheila O'Sullivan Feeney, that Cindy will draft a comment letter and make the appropriate comments that we've all discussed
Okay.
to bring to light this issue. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion stands unanimous. Perfect. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for doing that letter. That's awesome. All right, item number 8, future land development review. 311 Sawmill Land Development Application presented to the zoning here in February, which was approved, but as to date, no plans have been set. So there is no action at this time. Wonderful. Item number 8.2, Garrett Williamson Land Development Application has granted the township an extension for the indefinite period of time as the project has been put on hold while the applicant works through some issues at their end. No action at this time.
I'm gonna recommend, I mean, I know we were keeping these on, but the Garrett Williamson may be literally
Years.
years.
So we can
If
suspend
you're okay, I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. The idea of leaving ones on that are kind of gonna potentially be back before you, I didn't want to lose track of so that you would know that they were there. But my understanding is Garrett Williamson is actually going to be going out and trying to do fundraising probably before they come back to us. And so if that's the case, I don't know that you really want to have this on
Yeah.
your agenda every
If you
meeting,
feel like
but
I'm repeating
if
it,
you're okay, I'll
Yeah.
pull that
Yeah.
off.
I think
And
the Garrett Williamson, the other one, 311 Sawmill, since it's February, should we give it a couple more months?
I would keep that one on
Okay.
because they're still taking actions
Okay, perfect.
to move forward. But
Can-
Garrett Williamson's going to come on. But I didn't want to just take it off without letting you know that's what we're
Do
doing.
we need to take an action on that? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Steve. That's perfect.
Okay, speaking of developments that are plugging along, what's the status of the Veterans Memorial Hall?
That one was approved by the board at the last meeting, limited to just the Memorial Hall and that parking area, not the office area and all of that that was shown on the plans.
All right. All right, item number 9, new business. 9.1, the proposed 2024 budget items, discussion and possible action on the EAC's proposed budget request for 2024. All right, hopefully everyone did get a chance to review the budget. I want to start off by praising the EAC because we came in at a 12.36% saving budget for our proposed budget for 2024. And we were innovative in terms of a way of accomplishing our goal by partnering with Shade Tree. So, and I do have to do those little budget request sheets. So, and I do try to combine them together. And in the budget request of $590, that's really for, and it's everything from the tree canopy workshop, the Congress along Schuylkill workshop, EAC regional conferences workshop. So altogether, we're proposing $590 for that. The event support and signs and flyers, that's an 800. I put these two into one budget request and I individually list them down. This is really, again, it goes along with our mission to be the preeminent township. It helps us in transparency in connecting and improving communication with residents. So this is everything from an event support to our name tags to if we need things at specific events, because we've done 4 or 5 table events this year. And we actually have 2 more planned for the fall. But this will really help us accomplish our goal to build public awareness, education, and connect with our residents. So I do have all of our sheets if anyone wants to look at those. Another one, this is a really great one. This $1,000 for Sustainable Green Business Coalition. We have $500 that will be for support of the program if needed. And these are things that we talked about. But another $500 is a phenomenal project. Dana and I talked about it. For the fall or the spring of 2024, we'd look to have $500 of that $1,000, which would be for a Green Business Coalition event. And really what we want to do is when we're talking about sharing best practices and bringing our green business leaders together and building awareness about this program, the best way for us to do it is to facilitate a way to communicate with each other, help companies share their knowledge and information of what they're doing. And this could be, we're keeping it general because we have a specific idea, but we also want to make sure that we let this marinate a little further because we talk with the business association and if we could do it. I have an idea where I could get a free place to provide the actual place to host this, which is great. And it is somebody that I've got in mind. So that would be just to cover ourselves if this program does not come off the way we expect. But with talking, when we were at the Delaware County Sustainable Conference and Boron was there and with these other leaders in the community, and we saw how just that synergy of everyone being together helped bring the information and the knowledge. And the Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Program is so important. It is one of our top goals for 2024. And for us to help make it worthwhile for the businesses to connect with each other and to share the vision really will be a game changer. All right, the next one is $450 for workshop, and this is a great community workshop. This will not only it supports the MS4 plan, it's the EAC objective. This will be rain garden education for land usage, signage at gardens, homeowners workshop, educational literature, and brochure order. So that's a great idea. The next one is
just so I understand, how's that different than the event support?
This is specifically for a rain garden and community education workshops. This is with the focus on rain gardens. And as Cindy has, anything else you want to give on that one?
No, I'm okay with that. I just want to understand.
Oh,
and then the event support,
event support will be generic for anything.
like the farmer's market.
Like,
Is that what I'm?
Yeah. What
Okay.
we did, like,
Just so I can explain it if I'm asked.
and for the event support, we were looking at, we don't need shirts and things like that, but it would be important. We've done so many community events when we are at an official function, when we're there on behalf of the township, a name tag, just as, Dane Shoemaker, EAC, volunteer or something that clearly shows that we're just a volunteer, we're not a member of the township. But those type of things, we gave out seed packets at events. So these are like the small things.
Yeah,
We
that's
wanna
fine.
keep it, general.
I just wanted to
And-
make sure I understood the difference.
And the 450 was specifically for rain gardens and MS4 to leverage all the investment that we've made in the 2 rain gardens. And I was thinking like $150 for signs, $150 for like brochure holders and brochures, like maybe to put on the wall here or in the other garden, maybe, with a QR code or whatever, and then maybe a workshop like we had done a few years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood the
And we
difference.
took up all the budget sheets. I mean,
That's
do we
fine.
really- do we need to give them all to you, scan them, or do you want specifically from us?
I want them to go to Yvonne, but, or they can, you can turn them into us tonight and we'll give them to Yvonne if you're ready.
I get a secretary allowance for this one, but anyway. Because this only took about a couple hours of my life, but anyway, let's go back. I'm sorry. Yes, Jen.
Yes, I wondered if there's any room for a workshop on, from Birdtown. Specifically on, Birdstone.
Okay, you know what? We can maybe of that $400 for event support, make sure that we have 150 of that supported for Birdtown. And that's why I wanted to keep that event support kind of specific to as the needs develop, because if we lock it down to one particular thing, then we don't have the opportunity to take new information and make that important. So I will put that in. Let me just make sure I put a note in that one for Birdtown.
If I can just add on to that idea, I think it's good to do something about birds.
Yes.
When you say bird strikes, are you talking also, would that encompass like, outdoor lighting and that issue?
Yes, right.
Okay.
Right. And I'm speaking about that.
Yeah, we have
We get
that
later on. Okay.
Yeah, we do have a great discussion tonight on that, but of the $100 social media boost. Now, this is not necessarily just for EAC, but we're willing to take the hit on our budget for this, and this is for individual boost, really to help the township increase its profile. Because when we're sharing this information, if we're not getting out to the mediums, and I'm not just talking Facebook, I'm talking Instagram, whatever mediums that the youth especially connect to, that was $100. And these are just suggestions. Now this is a great one. This is combining them in a $400 grant, but it's really $100 for DCDA, $100 for Crum Creek, and $200 for Birdtown. So it's technically $400 for membership fee. And this is really important. This goes along with the township strategic plan of creating a community culture. It increases township and EAC presence at the watershed and Birdtown events.
I think we already do the Darby Creek and the Crum Creek.
Right, and we were just putting it down on our budget. Because I think one year you did and then you had to take it off, I thought. So we were asking to make sure that this
Okay.
became a budget item.
Okay.
And
I just want to make, I
Yes.
think it's in our budget already. I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
oh, then I am saving you even more, Steve. Oh, whoa. But really, we thought it was important,
No, I got it.
because if we're, especially when we're trying to build connections with our local partners.
Yep.
And the next one is $200 for EAC members to attend watershed. Now it's EAC members or townships. We think it's very important at the watershed events. And this is DCBA or CRC, that we send representative like Janet or Cindy or Dane or Jay, someone to go to these events. They have fundraising opportunities. They increase networking. When we go there, we can increase networking opportunities. Again, it's creating a community culture, but it's increasing our knowledge and trading information and being aware of trends.
So how is that different than training?
This is a watershed for them to attend a watershed event. It's not a training class. So when they have, like, there was their dinner, they had a dinner last year.
Okay,
And
alright.
we didn't have the funding to attend these events.
gotcha.
They had a spring, this one was really great. It was, I think it was a $35 attendance to, attend a cocktail type party. And we went, but we have to pay for these things out of pocket. And we already asked so much of the EAC. I don't think it's fair to ask Janet or anyone else to pay for these things out of their own pocket. Right, and the next item is, the $3,897, which we talked about for the trees, and this is wonderful. Cindy's partner, Carol Wagner, and Cindy worked together on this program to get, the public works trees to have us accomplish 125 trees to be planted on private property. Of course, as we stipulated, this would be a tree giveaway program. This would be those residents who agreed to the terms as the township street tree, and that the EAC and the shade tree would equally split the proposed funding, and that we would both carry it under our budget. So that was a win-win. And the other item was $600 for leaf mulch, which is specifically to the rain gardens. And it was very helpful because, as noted, Cindy's done a great job with harvesting the seeds and getting whatever seeds we can, so we don't have to use further plants. So leaf mulch will help keep the weeds down, and it's a win-win for all of us. All right. Does anyone have any questions on our budgets?
Lot of work, Sheila.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
All right. Let's go item number.
Do we have to, do we have? to
Oh,
do
yes.
this?
All right. All those in favor, anyone want to make a motion to approve the budget?
Motion to approve the budget.
Motion is made by Dane Shoemaker, seconded by Cindy Mahalo to approve the proposed idea for our 2024 budget, where the EAC saved 12.36% off of our last budget. And we are efficient in using our taxpayer dollars in the most appropriate manner. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion stands unanimous. All right, item number 9.2. The 2024 EAC goals and set priorities. And a lot of these, are still fluid because, as you can see from our budget, we've already kind of are setting, our budget is really setting a lot of our goals already, because we realize that the only way for us to move anything in this is the Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition pledge. We actually were joking because we got a company from outside of our township who tried to take the pledge. So that means we're making a lot of input. We were also asked by Delaware County Sustainable to be considered for their 2024 conference. So our program has to be more successful for us to be in a panel discussion, but Delaware County has asked Newtown Square to be in that, and that is fabulous. What I really want this program to be successful. So I think that is our number one goal, because it really drives all of our behaviors in the environmental way. Anyone else have any goals for suggestions?
I would like to ask Steve what the township's goals are for next year, because I think that
Right.
whatever we do should support your goals.
Perfect.
And I know that at the most recent committee of committees meeting, you circulated that document, which I didn't bring with me, but you pointed us back to the comprehensive plan and the
Strategic plan. Yep.
the strategic plan with the directives. And as I said, I don't have those in front of me, but to me that.
I think I left my copy. Oh, maybe I didn't.
I don't know if Rose has it somewhere on her computer that she can pull it up. But I think that's, following your lead, I think that we should always circle back with that, and that should be
Yep.
preeminent with everything we do.
Yeah, so we can get you that copy of what we, I
Well,
think.
I
there was-
have it. Just thought if we could discuss it right now. I mean,
Sure.
I have it back at home.
Yeah, I don't know that I have the actual
Okay.
copy with me right this moment, but
Okay.
yeah, so we're focusing on taking the next step. If we think about what our strategic plan has in it, the 5 directives, one of them was easing traffic or easing congestion and improving traffic. And we've talked about some of the things we've done there, and we're still working on that. I don't know there's anything specifically that would fall under environmental advisory group in your area, other than what we are doing with the signs that we're putting in. We're working with PennDOT. Where we can, we're going to do solar versus hooking up to electric. We're going to put in some, they want us to put in some speed signs in a couple places. There are a couple places we just won't be able to, just because of the amount of tree canopy. And we don't want to cut back trees just to put in a sign, that doesn't make sense, right? But where we can, there's a couple places we think we can actually put the sign in and do it as a solar sign instead of an
This
electric.
is like a pedestrian safety sign. or
Very,
something,
no,
or-
very similar. We have a place on, Gradyville and a place near Langolan. If you know where that is, if you're going over towards Edgemont on Gradyville, if you go right off of Bishop Hollow onto Gradyville, there's one of the last township roads before you go across the reservoir is Langolan, and it goes up and right there, and it's a really bad spot, and you can't see the traffic coming from Edgemont back into the township. And so we're going to put up a speed sign there to remind people. And so very similar. It won't be exactly like, but it'll be similar to the speed signs that you've seen on Troop Farm Road. They were actually done by the community, that's there, by the HOA. But these will be ones that we're actually taking on and doing. We're also looking at doing some mid-block crossing up here where the Petticoat League is. And so that we can encourage parking in the parking lots off of Campus Boulevard instead of parking on the road. And we're going to do a mid-block crossing, but in order to do that, we need to have some flashers. And we're looking at trying to do those where we can with solar versus doing those with having to hook up into power.
So for that mid-block crossing at the Petticoat League, which is, I think, a fabulous idea to encourage people to park in the corporate park. Right now, I think when people leave the parking lot to go across Bishop Hollow, they like troop up a hill over between trees and over grass. Have you thought about working with the landowner there to make more of a path? Like
We will do that once we
6%?
know, once PennDOT lands where we need to put the crossing.
Okay,
They're looking at it. They're not overly excited about that crossing, but they understand the safety issue. If
And-
people are doing it one way or another.
yeah, and the parking is, up
Yeah.
and down both sides. And
Yeah,
Okay. so
and we
you're
know that
looking-
problem living there,
yes,
right?
Yes, so you are thinking about,
We're trying to
This
do
is
that.
part of
Once
the
we
whole-
know what that is, we would then look at trying to have some connection and work with
Okay,
the landowner.
okay, so
So-
I had another thought related to this, easing traffic and congestion. And I know that you're, I believe you said that you have a grant and you're gonna put sidewalks along Ellis
Yes,
from West Chester Pike to Bishop Hollow.
yes.
And I know a few trees will have to come down or whatever, but what I was thinking as I drove down that road is, will it be designed so that there's like a small grass strip between the road and the sidewalk, as usually happens with a sidewalk?
I don't know how to answer that question right at the moment because I don't remember the plan. I know that there was some talk of it. I knew that there was a couple places where it's not possible.
So the sidewalk might be right against the curb
The-
and like road.
I
curbs.
believe that's the
Okay,
case.
well, where I'm going with this is if there is, at some places along there, that grass strip, that is frequently called a hell strip because it's a pain in the neck to have grass there and it often looks terrible and it's tough to grow things. I would propose that we encourage or somehow support residents to put native plants there. Hardy, drought tolerant, and a lot of people have done this. Because it's a very awkward place to try to grow grass and it could be beautiful and support the townships, align with the township support for native plants. So I just wanted to put that idea out there.
So I guess what we could do, Steve, if you could, I already have a copy of those directives. If you could just send it out to me and I can send it out to the team.
I don't need another
No, I
copy.
mean-
I have it.
No, we could make sure
the
Janet
rest of
stays.
us-
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Just that.
Oh,
And the reason
true.
being is
Sorry.
from an
Sorry.
EAC perspective, what we, and I put this down as our goal number 2 would be support township goals and initiatives. Because
Yep.
everything we do is in support of that. And so we can go into specifics, like you said about that. That's really important because the EAC could impact that traffic congestion, encouraging people to walk, to stop using their car, to go to Acme, to take it back, all of these things that we could encourage. So that would be helpful. And also, for example, leaf reduction. We had 389 trucks full of leaves last year, the township. If we could do anything, let's say 5% less, 10% was incredible, because not only is that costing us taxpayers money, but it's a huge.
Reduce the number
Number
of
of
trucks that are circulating.
Yeah.
Well, it's public
it's-
works trucks.
It's the
truckloads.
it's the trucks, it's the manpower, it's everything. But at the end of the day, they're removing leaves that we need to be on it. So we, again, this is part of
Leave
our
the
community. Yeah, leave the leaves, but we have to provide education and that's part of our thing. So number 2 is supporting the township goals and initiative. And we can talk about all of these things and I'm open to everything, and we can prioritize, and this is a document that we could still talk about for a little bit. We don't need to lock it down today. And number,
I'm sorry, can I say one more thing?
Sure.
On the sidewalk on Ellis, what's the estimated completion date? 2024 or 2025?
2023.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that maybe we could do is, since our mission is education, and we did this, I did this in my previous community, is have like a bike ride or a bike-a-thon or a bike rodeo in conjunction with open space and trails, and kind of celebrate the opening of this sidewalk with a little fanfare. And then maybe, you have people, families ride down, or you take them on a ride and show them the trail, kind of debut it.
right,
That's something maybe we could do
but
with trails.
yeah, to your point, we still have some budget dollars left for this year. And if Cindy's looking to, put in those strips, and the township is putting in that,
I don't know that we would put them in,
Well-
because the homeowner is that,
well, right.
I would
the
encourage,
township-
I don't know who's responsible.
Well, the-
for-
We'll do the initial planning,
Right,
so.
Okay,
And maybe it's something, look, if you're saying to put in, you're gonna either they're gonna throw down grass seed, or we give them something else to consider.
we could make a recommendation
Make a
from
recommendation.
from
Right.
Ernst, and we,
But
yeah.
Yep, that's something to look at, but another idea would be, and this is specifically, it's supporting the township, but the support the township in the stormwater management. So although we're supporting the township's goal, I specifically want to make sure that stormwater management is brought to light, because, accomplishing the MS4 plan is really important. So although it's kind of a subset of supporting the township, it's something we could prioritize on. Because, and the other object is to help the township move sustainable Pennsylvania from our silver platform to gold. And it's again, is a combination of all of our other efforts. And obviously increasing community outreach, awareness, knowledge, attitude, skills, and participation. So that's a really broad one. And I also, these are just ideas, guys. I mean, please jump in if you find anything else. I think we need to increase awareness of all pollution. We're talking light, we're talking noise, we're talking, air quality, everything pollution, and how water are pollution. So again, that goes back with our community knowledge, community information, aware. And another goal would be to, like we said, partner with Shade Tree or support tree giveaway programs, planting more trees, and how we do all these things.
One thing that's been on my mind a lot lately, and I want to broach it with Shade Tree, is I'm very aware of the number of ash trees that are now dead.
This year
We
was-
knew it was coming. But I am stunned as I walk around when you look at the skyline and you see all these dead trees at Hunter's Run. We have a number to be removed. I know the township, checked the property line along Stony Brook to see where your trees are, where Hunter's Run are. Just as an aside, because I know board members at Hunter's Run, maybe we could jointly work with the township to get one vendor in there and then prorate your trees, our trees. But what I'm thinking is, and I know the township, or I think I heard the Board of Supervisors talking about this, is what about all the dead ash trees on private land? And again, this is probably Shade Tree's domain, but the safety issue of informing homeowners that these trees are going to fall and they're responsible, or like, you've got to cut down these trees. But then also there's going to be a void in our tree canopy in the township, which will have impacts on stormwater, which will have impact on birds, on biodiversity. And I'm just thinking, I don't even know. I was talking with someone at Tyler Arboretum. I was at the Hardy Plant Conference and I was talking to a board member there. And she said, Tyler is looking like, what are they going to do? They have closed their trails because there's so many dead ash trees. It's unsafe. And I'm thinking more from a habitat perspective of when you lose an ash tree, what gap does that leave in that ecosystem? Like what pollinators were specific to those ash trees, and should the Shade Tree Commission, think about making recommendations like proactively to homeowners, like remind them, you're responsible for these trees. You need to take them down. You can't ignore it, but then also maybe offer suggestions of trees they could plant or something like that. I just think they're all, it's a big percentage of our tree canopy.
And we can ask Shade Tree, and we can, like you said, there's great recommendations. I guess what we have to do is focus what we as the EAC can do and let Shade Tree do what it can do, but our vision and our values align so much with them.
Yeah.
And I think we can also do that with our increased importance on community education and our outreach. By being at these events and talking with people and increasing magazines and getting information out, we're making people aware. In my own neighborhood, the amount of trees that in the last 6 months, it's devastating to see. And these are not people who want to take these trees down, but they're devastated. They have to take them down. It's a safety issue. So bringing information out about that, we can quote that. But where we need to focus on right now is our specific goals. And so, one of our goals is to create awareness among our residents and about our environmental issues and begin conversation on what they can do to change their personal behavior. So these are some ideas. I mean, I am willing to listen to anyone, and I kept them broad enough, but I really want to also break down what we're going to accomplish under each one of those. Is there
You
anything?
did not send that out.
I did not send this out. No, this is something we're still just discussing today. We'll discuss it further next month. I wanted to get any input from you guys as to what you thought.
After we provide our input today, can you provide a draft version of that in writing so we can see it?
Yep.
Thanks.
But this was just collecting information today, I'm not jamming it down your throats. I wanted to see what your thoughts were too, because, goals
So
are,
we'll spend the next weeks
Yep.
to kind of developing these things.
yep. Think about those and, okay. Anything else for goals? Anyone else have any ideas? And if you think of something in the next few days, pop it off to me. I will throw these out. Again, these are just for us to discuss, you guys to add, and I put down a number of them. But I really kind of think when you really note it down is obviously number one, supporting the township goals initiatives, which will drive some of our behavior. Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition really, again, helps us because not only are we touching the township, we're touching the businesses who touch the residents who bring it all back to full circle. Stormwater, all of those things. I mean,
Sheila, did you mention the comprehensive plan?
I did mention supporting the township's goals and initiatives, but I will go into.
Because Steve, I know you said that that's at the committee of committees meeting, you mentioned that it's coming due to rewrite or update the comprehensive plan. And that you have the intent to maybe consolidate that with a strategic plan so that there's one document, not two.
Okay.
And I wondered, what's the timing of that and what would the ask be of our body next year?
Well, I think, here's what I would say is, we're working right now through that process, what that's going to look like. I actually am going to be meeting with the chair of the Planning Commission because the Planning Commission is the one that actually drives the comprehensive plan usually, but because we're adding the strategic plan in with it, I see it being broader. We will probably bring in a third party to walk us through that process. And just like the Shade Tree Group, the Historic Commission, each committee will be asked to weigh in on what that looks like and our direction. So what the specific ask is today, I don't have an exact spot, but what I would say is that you'll be a vital part of providing input into what goes into that plan over the next 10 years.
Great, thank you.
So I'd like to ask, the committee of committees, are there notes that go out from that? Because,
No,
there are
there's
not.
no.
Right, so that those of us who do not sit on that committee are kind of in the dark about.
Well, I mean, that's why we have both the chair and the vice chair invited, and they're welcome to bring back information back to you. But it's really meant to be more of just an opportunity to make sure that everybody's kind of
Yeah.
hitting on the same page. And what we're working on, and that, if this group's working on something, does this group need to be involved in it? And if so, then it should come back either through your chair or vice chair and be on your agenda of something to share and move in that direction.
Is that a
Well,
monthly meeting or? is it-
It's quarterly,
It's-
but
They meet, they're meeting actually every about 8 weeks is what we're trying to do.
to that point, a couple issues that came up at last month's meeting. One was you spent a considerable amount of time explaining the town's policy on signs. Although I don't know that really impacted the EAC, because we don't go around sticking signs out
Right.
on roads. And
Did
then,
put one up the other day.
what was it about?
Yeah, what was it for?
Farmer's market?
Do not say you don't.
It's
No,
okay.
it's okay. It's okay.
It's
Yeah.
okay if it's a
It's for
township,
Circle at
sign,
Sundown. I put an extra
That's
sign at
okay.
Drexel Park, but we took it down. It's fine now. So.
but never in the medial strip in West Chester
No.
Pike, and only 2 are allowed on any traffic circle, one
Yeah.
coming and going. And they have to be removed after the event. Nothing for like Boy Scouts or charity or businesses or painting.
Can we
or
go
things
into
like
this because we're moving into, it's 6 o'clock.
Okay, but the other thing is
Okay.
more relevant, and that is that there will now no longer be any liaisons from the EAC to other bodies. We can attend meetings if we want, but there's no formal liaisons.
Well, and we're working with, like, as you
That-
said.
well, let me be clear. Maybe I didn't say that clearly. What I said was, I don't have a problem if you want to have somebody that goes attend a meeting or be a liaison, but there's not going to be a point on the agenda that's specifically
Right.
for that purpose. In other words,
To report
because if
back.
you had a park and rec person, a finance person, a whatever, there's 10 other committees. So if 10 committees all had liaisons that came in and every time had a thing on the agenda, you would not be able to do what your agenda is for what all the liaisons wanted.
Right.
That doesn't mean that a liaison that you don't want, if you want to have a liaison to a committee so that you can work together, go for that, still do that. It's just not on the agenda as a specific item for a report from the liaisons. That's what the point was. And I thought that's what you asked me. But maybe that's not what you asked me at that meeting, and maybe I misunderstood. But that's what I was
Thank you
understanding.
for clarifying.
All right, and we can talk about that further. It's just that I have a responsibility to keep us on target, and it's 6 o'clock and I've got a lot of items to go on. Item 9.3 is lights out. Now, this is for bird migration safety. This is discussion and possible action on participating in the lights out program for the spring of 2024 in the bird migration. This is supporting education about public awareness about this important issue. And as you can see from the graphic up there, it's called Lights Out. This is specifically to the Philly program that we have, but Lights Out is a national program. And Janet is going to speak a little bit about that to bring it. And this is something that we would like to, even though we have, somebody said we don't have high-rise buildings, we do have apartments that are above 5 and 6 floors. And we do look at the new apartments just went in, and the AmeriHealth is above 4 floors. So birds aren't discriminating against just big buildings. Birds fly into 2-story and 1-story houses. So what we're trying to do is make them aware of what light does in the migration point. And Janet, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. So as chair of Birdtown and also as secretary of Birdtown, Pennsylvania for the state of Pennsylvania, I work with the board members, and Audubon, Woodcote Audubon has been instrumental in working with Drexel University to initiate Lights Out in Philly. And that occurred after, I think it was in the fall of 2021, perhaps, where they had a huge strike of birds. They went around it in the early morning hours and collected the number of bodies of these birds who have been killed in the strike. So it's very important during the migration times between in the spring and the fall to let people become aware of a number of birds that are migrating at night. As a matter of fact, most birds do migrate at night, cooler. and they can get thrown off by lights. So that if we support Lights Out Philly with a resolution that we can develop so that it's in place by certainly by the spring migration time, that we'll make our residents aware that even the porch lights that they have can impact migration. So if you don't need to have a light on, or if you can have it put on one of those sensors so that it only comes on when something is happening strangely in your driveway. And also that new lights that are installed to be put down, face down, so they're not impacting the sky up above. And this goes along with another project that Birdtown has had a workshop on, and that is with bird strikes on windows. In the United States here, we have 1 million birds a day that are flying into windows. And these are not high-rise windows. These are our resident windows. I've heard the strikes happen in my yard. And so we just really are hoping to do an educational workshop and have material that goes out on our Facebook page. And I have also spoken with Arlene about having feather-friendly dots placed on the windows, the far windows of the library there, which is a way that birds see the dots, and they will not fly through a space that is like 2 by 2. So you put these dots on this way and this way, vertically and horizontally, and then the birds will avoid striking or trying to go through that area. I'm aware that the Radnor Penn Medicine there has these dots all
Yes.
over their walkways there. You really don't pay attention to them unless you're actually trying to see them.
It's like a contact paper, and there's the film that you put over these windows.
Well,
but yes.
it's like a strip
Yep,
of like colored dots, but these are all white dots. And so you put the strip up and then you pull the paper away and the dot is there. But we need not only to have those applied, but also to have signage that goes with it. And I think the library would be a great place. So I'm proposing that we support feather-friendly.
Well, I think what we want to do is, it goes along with our mission of making people aware of what actually light pollution is.
Yes,
So it's not just dealing with, even though the birds travel mostly at night and they do need the darkness to navigate through that process. And we're not just talking birds, bats and other creatures.
right.
Lightning bugs are impacted by light. So building awareness about what light pollution does
Right.
and Lights Out program. So it's something that we can start. And what we were looking to do is see if we could start getting some larger companies who would be aware of this as a concern, and they may be making. We don't want to do anything with the supervisors just yet in terms of any need for, any type of ordinance or public awareness.
Resolution.
Right now, we just want to start making people aware of what light pollution does, what light
And window
out
strikes.
program is, and that program starts August 15th, I think, to November 1st. But it's something that we can all do, and Janet, you brought up great ideas, having our lights be directed downwards, having them be on sensors, reducing lights in your own household
Right.
unnecessarily, and being aware of the light pollution that we have. And actually, do you know that when we have a light in our own property and it projects onto everyone else's property, that's light trespass. So not only is it impacting birds and wildlife, but it's impacting other people's lives. So that was just an idea for discussion. We would like to support that initiative in terms of building awareness of Lights Out. I think the confusion is Philly, which get people thinking it's a Philly program, but
But
it
it's
really
the
is
whole
Valley Forge,
surrounding.
yeah, it's Valley Forge Audubon supports this program, and it's a really important program. So we'll bring that, and we'll have that at our community outreach tables this fall. So any information we can have.
Right.
All right, anybody else have any questions about the Lights Out program? Since we don't need to take any action about it, we will just continue.
Oh, it's a great idea.
Yeah. Perfect.
As is the idea about the bird-friendly dots on
Dots.
windows, right? Oh, I see Steve knocking. Great,
I love that idea. I had a bird that
yeah.
it had to be brain dead by the time it was done, but I mean, literally, I tried putting little birds on my window
Yes,
right.
and it kept flying in my
Well, the
window.
trick is when you, and this is really the trick, which is phenomenal. If you're going to clean the outside of the house windows, you don't clean the inside of the house. Because that dirt actually helps them, it kind of confuses the light.
It
Not enough.
didn't matter.
So, yeah, and then I
Telling
do-
you, it
I
did
do-
not matter.
you know, But yes, you said.
But I like the dots.
The dots would definitely be things, and that they are like it's kind of like a kind of a sheen type thing that you
Uh-huh.
put over. And
You
it's
have to
great.
put them on the outside.
Yeah.
That's
Put them
fine.
on the inside, they just see the reflection of the trees and all, right?
Yeah.
Go on the outside.
And I think, was it 1,500 birds that they had, bird strikes that they counted in a series of 2 weeks in Philadelphia?
Yeah,
I had
so-
15
so
at my
Drexel
house.
University-
1,500 dead birds.
Well, they weren't dead. It wasn't dead, but
You
it
killed
hit.
15 birds?
No, I had a bird hitting my window every 40 seconds.
Oh, my God.
He would fall on the
Is it a
ground and
bird?
get back. I tried it. I'm telling you, I put little cutouts of little birds because I was told they wouldn't fly in them,
Right.
and he still did.
Okay,
So anyway, I don't want to take away from your meeting, but I'm just saying, I understand the problem
Janet-
and I'm willing to help you.
Thank-
Cop it, at
Thank-
least at my house.
we'll get you that information on that slide and say, because we want the niece house to be bird friendly, because my property and Janet's and Cindy's are all bird certified properties, so we want to make sure that we keep you safe too. All right, item number 9.4. This is important because the EAC's Township Magazine content for the fall. I think would love to hear some suggestions because the article is going to be due early September. And I think it's going to be dropping, I think that'll drop out in November, December. So it's really past the leaf season. But I have a couple ideas. Anyone else have any ideas? And would
Just
be great-
remember, we're still focusing, although I think we missed it for the third. Because something happened in communication, but we're still focusing on stormwater this year. This whole year is focusing on stormwater.
Okay,
So if you have anything that you want to add towards stormwater, that would be great.
okay. So stormwater, that would be great for when is it actually going to drop? It's the September.
I
1st?
think it drops the end of November, but I'd have to look at it.
But our date, is it like September 9th or when is our deadline?
I don't know the exact date.
Yeah.
I'd have to get it. for
Yeah.
you.
I'm saying that first week in September is going to be our deadline. Okay, so stormwater is obviously a subject. Anyone else have any items? He's saying that's going to be coming late November, so it's really, isn't this the winter? It's technically considered winter, right?
I
Steve?
think so.
So a winter themed,
It may be late October. I'll have to look at
Yeah.
it. Let me get, I just know if it's early September, it's usually,
weeks will be past that.
we have to usually have all the articles in 2 months prior
Yeah.
to when it was released.
I think people are aware of the kind of salt, I'll put it in quotes, that they use on their driveway or whatever.
That's a
because-
great idea. Because there's
because-
beet alternatives, there's other things that we could
because
do.
This stuff drains into
Yeah.
our river, our creeks.
All right, so
Uh,
that's a
I
great
mean,
idea.
If now if we have another winter like this last one, I still have unopened bags at my house that I have not put on the driveway because we hardly had any snow or ice, but
So
does Public Works address that issue? The kind of
It-
materials that you can use?
We are, I mean, I will say probably not to the level that, that people talk about.
Right.
It's just so much more costly for
It
what
is more
we do.
costly. Some
Um,
people who are committed
Yeah,
to trying.
I mean,
to
they
help
use,
the
they
environment.
use pickle juice, they use beets. I mean, there's so many
There-
incredible alternatives.
no, we're
But-
doing some things in our brine and things like that to
Yeah,
help,
right.
but we also know it's not always the cost, it's also what's really effective. I mean, it's one thing if you're doing a driveway or something and it's not 100%. When we do a road, if we don't do
You
it
have to
right,
be.
we have some liability. And so, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
We have looked at it. We're trying to be more friendly. We're trying to do things. That's why we've gone to brining. We use a lot less salt when we brine. And so, but it's still brining. It's still salt. I'm not, but we use a lot less by doing that versus doing some of the others. And we're looking, we look at it every year, whether we can do it a different way.
Okay, so Janet, so building on your salt, which is a great thing, and incorporating what Steve said about stormwater, is there a way that you can construct an article that would deal with just salt and as it any other natural pollutions to our stormwater? Because like dog feed, all those things in street, oil, all of that. So if you want to incorporate that into an article, do you think that would be helpful?
Can we stick with the salt
salt-
alternative?
Salt alternative, I mean,
It probably should be a major focus.
Okay.
I think sometimes one strong message can be more
Okay.
effective than diluted.
Okay. all right, so do you want to just a small blurb about salt and alternatives or suggestions that you could say?
Right.
A way of reducing, because some people put down kitty litter, but then also everything has,
That's a mess. right.
yeah, but that everything. I would say, but make sure you get 2 or 3 good sources, so that way it's, well, Salt Watch, the Isaac Watson, Salt Watch Company.
No,
I'll send you the link. They have phenomenal resources on that, so. Okay, so Janet's looking at a salt, anything else, alternatives, article, all right. Stormwater, anything else, guys? Stormwater, let's think stormwater. I think stormwater does, we're in the middle of winter, stormwater, freezes your roof, freezes your rain gutters, it freezes all of these things. What can we do to help reduce stormwater, incorporate the EAC message?
Plant more trees, right?
Plant more trees.
Plan to plant more trees in the spring.
actually leaving your plants in place over the winter because the insects.
Don't clean up your yard too early.
Right.
Right.
Leave
Right.
your perennials up until a certain
Right.
point, like mid-March, I think.
Okay.
And those roots would still be in the ground and.
So who can direct an article or come up with an article that would kind of be focused in that message that would be about, providing and not cleaning your yard up so much, so we can incorporate some of the leaf mulch ideas. We can incorporate, saving the pollinators and having food for the birds through the winter. Anybody want to take on that article?
Oh, those birds,
Yeah,
they're
those
making me
crickets.
raise my.
Those crickets in here are unbelievable. All right, I will work with somebody on that. If anybody wants to jump in with me on that one.
Okay,
Okay, but it would be the leave the plants, we can incorporate the leaves, we can incorporate, keeping a visual interest in your yard and not having it so pristine going into the winter,
Right.
because those seeds are necessary. Okay, so a yard in December to still have its glory.
I like that too.
All right, perfect. All right. Great. Item number 10. Oh, this is you, Dane.
Okay.
Okay, update on Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition, update discussion and possible action to further support the thing. Now, I don't know if all of you know this, but Dane is going to give you some incredible news, and we got who signed, Dane?
Aronimink has signed the pledge, yeah, we had a couple meetings with them and, so they're in their midst of their busy season right now, and I think they're short-staffed, so we would like to do a site visit there at some point in the fall. That's the goal with Julie.
Video
What's that?
and the video for that.
Yeah, we'll see. And then,
But
but they're doing,
I mean, they are, and when you were talking about things, what they're doing, they provided us a list is phenomenal. So it's impressive what they're doing now. And what I love is the fact Julie is so committed to this and is willing to take it up a notch and will support it. And that's why a conference like we talked about, bringing these people together will be really helpful.
yeah, I don't have the list in front of me, actually, I apologize, but I think they have a native plant, they have a pollinator garden. I think a lot of their members are pretty involved in some of that. They're exploring greens management, they are also a member of the, I think it's like a nationwide network of golf courses that, pledge to
Right, they are.
sustainable activities, yeah. I don't know if they remember the Audubon or
Yes.
they're part of the bird.
They are, Audubon National.
I think that's what it is.
Program,
Yeah,
right.
so, yeah, I mean, we have a lot to learn from them. I mean, we need to meet with them, but I'm glad that they were, signed up and committed and just continuing to build. I mean, some of these big land owners, right, are gonna be key to this, so.
So I think Dane needs everyone's support. This is a full EAC project and all of us needs full hands on decks because we definitely want to start we have all the major landowners set up for this. I mean, that we identified everyone in our group that we originally identified as the key businesses. We have all of them signed up, and we really want to grow this program, so we need everyone's help, and we will work on that. That is going to be our top priority. All right, item number 10.2. This is important too. The Newtown Township's comprehensive plan recommendation and EAC wetland study recommendation. Steve, this is the update on the township enacting recommendations for the comprehensive plan for the wetlands and the riparian buffers. Also, the EAC's recommendation to have the ordinance amended that the wetland study be valid for 5 years. So Steve, I know Jack is the intern working on this. What is the update on that?
So we did send over to the solicitor not only the wetlands potential ordinance, but also the 5-year study. And I had Jack go through, and he actually located 5 places in the code. And I don't remember all of them, but I know they involve, there's a wetlands area in the code. It's in our land development area. So there was, when it talked about buffers, all the places where it would be wise to bring up this idea of the valid 5-year study. And so he's submitted that also over to the solicitor. So the solicitor can take and say, if we put it here, here, and here, because if you put it just in the land development section,
Right.
it limits it just to land development projects. And so we want to make it broader than that.
Okay.
And so that's what it is.
Do you think there's something that the EAC needs to present this before the supervisors? But I feel like it's already. generic to what you're doing.
Until the solicitor gets done his
Okay.
review and make sure that it's ready to go. And then when we go to present it to the board, then I would have you guys come in.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much. This is also important, and if we can, we would like to have some resolution on that. This fall, like we'd love to be able to lock that thing down. That'd be really important. All right, number 10.3, Weeds Meadow Lawn Alternative Ordinance Update. Update the discussion possible action on the township weed ordinance to help residents with lawn conversions, meadows, naturalized lawns, and lawns alternatives. I know Janet and Cindy worked really hard on getting this information. I know Jack was digesting it and were helping us. This is really important for the Willistown.
Both of those have been submitted to the solicitor.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the update is, do you think, are we talking like October? Are we talking?
I couldn't even tell you
Okay.
right now. I know I really can't tell you.
Okay.
It's like about 7 things on his list that I'm waiting for.
Perfect.
I don't know where this fits.
I found a resource from EAC when they looked at the update of ordinances, and it's a great technical piece from the ordinance side. It's email, a video from that thing, and I will send that to you. Maybe you could have I don't have Jack's email address unless you want to give that to me.
Well, he's going to be leaving in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
He's got about 3 weeks left before
Okay.
he's done. So
Just thought it was a nice ordinance. It was a video on updating ordinances and getting into some of the minutia detail that some townships have encountered before, and it just kind of helps identify areas which would make a township concern, how to address them, and how to overcome them.
Okay.
So I'll send that to you, and
that's fine.
you know, it's just really more so a resource to look at things, and it's somebody else already has walked this walk, and why do we need to reinvent the wheel? All right.
So
perfect.
you said he's leaving in a few weeks?
Yeah, he's an intern. He's a summer intern.
I
so-
see. Oh, I thought you meant the solicitor was leaving.
Oh,
No.
Jack is
Jack, our
providing-
summer intern. I have him for about 3 more. Well, he's going to be on vacation next week, so I have him for about 2 more weeks.
Oh,
That's right.
I have a question about these ordinance changes that have been submitted to the solicitor. At what point, if at all, in the future, will the EAC be able to review these before they go to the Board of Supervisors for approval?
Until I get a response back from him, I don't know that answer. So I mean, I can always-
I didn't ask the timing. I'm just saying, will we? At
if
some
that's
point,
what you
but-
would like, I mean, I took what you gave me and I basically sent it over for them. So, I mean, it's not 100%, in that I took input from what I thought we thought the board would accept, and we did that. I'm glad to send it back to you, and let you look at it. And, if you want to see it before it goes to the board, I can bring both of those back before it goes to the board.
And maybe what we could do is if you just send it to us, it doesn't have to be at the meeting, and then we could individually have everyone look at it, and maybe they could just give their individual input, but not a collective email, you know?
And we would want to be present when it's presented to the board.
Sure.
All right, great.
Right.
All right, item number 10.4, fall 2023 tree planting discussion and possible action on collaborating with Shade Tree Commission for the Keystone 10 million trees and other similar to organizations to have a fall tree planting event. Cindy,
I'm not aware of any tree.
you and
We
Carol
are
were
working on a
talking,
tree giveaway.
right?
But not a tree plant.
There is, Tricia talked about possibly doing a tree planting or some small scale event for the fall.
I'm not aware of that. You have to ask Trish.
All right,
Did we skip 10.4?
That is 10.4.
that is,
Oh, I thought that was lawn to meadow conversion.
all right, that will be, I will ask Trish on that and get clarification. And the reason being was just for us to be aware, if that is, we don't need to, it's just more so we can support it. We did, the meadows, what item are you looking for? All right. All right, item 10.5, the EAC Fall Regional Conference. This is discussion of possible action on the EAC's Fall Regional Conference, which will be held on Saturday, October 21st at 2023 at West Chester University. Mark the calendars. The conference will be all day and in person. The registration will be open. Actually, the registration I checked, Rose, is supposed to open next week. So we were checking tonight of who is able to go. I am actually not able to attend now. So October 21st, I did see.
I have a wedding.
You have a wedding? Okay. Anyone else able to attend?
Let me check my calendar.
And listen, if you're not sure today, Dane is out and I'm out, so we would love it. If anyone can go, and it doesn't have to be decided today, but I just wanted to let Rose know next week so we can take advantage of the early registration, which will give us a discount.
I will probably be available.
Cindy, all right.
I'm available.
All right, so far, a yes would be Cindy and Janet.
Yes,
Dane, yeah, I figured you would soccer, okay. Dane and Sheila are a no. Joe has not got his soccer schedule, which will run his life. And Cindy and Janet are a yes. Okay, so Rose, I will get that information and give you the formal request for that. That'd be perfect. All right, before we go into public comments for non-agenda items, there's a couple things I want to add, and these came to late to after we already had done the agenda. But we'll add this Rear Park update. We wanted to kind of get an idea if we can add that to the August agenda, just an update, because a lot of residents are asking us what's going on. Also, we wanted to add, and this would be something I would love for one of you EAC members to do it, our August agenda items, the bags for us to quote, we had that quote from last year to do the bags. We have a $750 allocated for that. We wanted to look at, is that something we want to do? If so, who would be able to go out and acquire that, purchase? And actually, all you need to do is honor the quote that we were given before. Is bag something that we still want to do? Is it supporting our agenda? It was something that we voted on last year. The reusable bags. Yep.
Reusable bags, yeah.
Yes. we have
I know, I got a
$750.
quote, Harry got a quote
Yes.
too, so I don't know what we want to do or what.
Well, we were looking at using
we're
the
gonna do with
Sustainable Newtown Square Green Business Coalition logo and the township logo. Do we want to act on that? Would be something we would consider for August, but I need somebody to take the lead on following through with the quotes. And if indeed everyone votes on this next month, that we go ahead and do it, or do we need to vote on it since it was already approved last year?
I think if you're going to,
It's 2023 funds at $750.
I think it's still like your design and all of
Okay.
that should be voted on by the
Okay.
committee.
All right, so who can take the initiative for next month's meeting to,
Yeah, I can do that.
perfect, all right, Dane, that's awesome.
So what are we, yeah, I mean,
We'll talk further. I just
Okay.
want to add it to the agenda items. Okay, and Joe will do that. Perfect. And then also, Greer Park, we're gonna add that to our August agenda, right? And another thing was, Wade Pollock's request. This is just, we'll add this to the August agenda, is, as I mentioned, for us to look at shrubs, trees, and plants out front to reduce the noise that they're experiencing at Drexel Lodge Park. So that would be something, Cindy, you want to coordinate with, or just kind of check that out with Trish as well, because I know she was on the email as well. Did you get that email today from Wade?
I didn't see it.
Okay, yeah. So we'll put it on the August. See if we have to act it, and you and I can talk further about that, if that's okay. And
Does he have funding for that?
no, this would be planting shrubs and trees. The trees would come out of the trees budget. Planting shrubs and flowers would be EAC trying to find some way, maybe through Wellstown or some other, to make that happen. Because he doesn't have it in his budget, and we don't have any
Well-
funds that we can commit to it unless we increase our budget, and we already had submitted our budget.
This is for sound barrier?
Yeah, for noise reduction, they're experiencing, when he's looked at sound, the sound in Drexel Lodge Park is disturbing when you're back in that area. You're trying to have this peaceful, quiet area. The noise pollution, and some of the trees that we have that were up there, larger ones have died, or that whole front erosion area. So it's just
Well,
something to
the
consider.
trees in the front are actually doing phenomenally well. I was over there last week.
The ones we planted.
The
at
ones
least
we
5,
planted in the
6 years
front
ago.
and that you watered all summer
Yes,
are
right.
doing fabulous. There is an opportunity to get small free trees and shrubs through the K 10 million tree program, which the order needs to be placed by next week. And he could make a request through that, but then he'd have to find people to plant them and people to care for them.
Right.
Because they're very small. They'd be the size that was planted at Brookside Park last fall.
So if we can, you can answer back to Wade
Mhm.
and that, and Trish, because whatever's trees, we'll let trees handle. If there's shrubs and flowers that we could suggest or support. I think he's just looking for a support in the method. It doesn't have to be for this year, but he would like it for us to support his issue, and I think he brought it to us, so that's great. So there's 2 things I will add to the August agenda, but I would love for you both to know about it, everyone to know about it now, because by the time August agenda comes out, it's nearly there. EAC has been invited to be at 2 EAC community outreach table events this year. We will be at the Drexel Lodge Park concert on September 9th, so I need 2 EAC members to be there. That is a Saturday, September 9th. The Drexel Lodge, the Parks and Rec is hosting a concert there with Dukes of Destiny. And that'll be a lovely 2-hour, but we want to have EAC presence there. Great way to engage the community, make them aware of light sound, make them aware of birds, the trees, everything that we're talking about here. This is how we connect. And also, we were invited to be at the Pints in the Square. That's Saturday, September 16th. We're going to need 3 hours, and we want to have an EAC table presence there. And again, if we're going to talk about anything, we're going to connect with the community, and this is how we make them aware of the Sustainable New Town Square program and every initiative that we're doing. This is how we build volunteers. This is how we connect. So it's really important. So I would love for anyone to check their calendars and let me know, but we will add it to our agenda for August, but I wanted to give you a heads up. In addition, sounds like it's really a long time, but it's actually not. For 2024, I will add this to the agenda. I just want to make you aware, February 24th, 2024, from 9 to 4:30 is going to be the next EAC regional conference, the first EAC regional conference for 2024.
That's through We Can Serve VA, right?
Yes. But this is just point, these are all came out after we did the agenda. We want to make them aware. So obviously, public comments we've already discussed, items for next agenda. Anyone else have any?
I have an item for your next agenda.
Oh, God, no, it's paperwork.
I don't have to give this to you.
But it's good stuff. Okay,
I'll let you just pass it down. What I'm passing down, our intern, became aware of the state PA law related to beehives. And so he put together for you, a beehive ordinance, and so I'm giving it to you. I think it should be added to your next
yes,
agenda. He went even as far as to put an application together or a registration together.
wow,
So if you'll take a look at that, and then give us any feedback, and then we'll send it over to the board for like a preliminary, yes, they're interested. And then go out to the solicitor. But he actually, I think, did a pretty good job on this one, putting a lot of work into it. And something that I thought really fit within the pollinator
Perfect.
focus that you have, and maybe encouraging folks to encourage pollination in that way.
Perfect.
I have a question, Steve. What prompted this?
He,
Like, is there a concern? Is there context? Are there complaints about people that have?
I think it
beehives?
was actually an issue of the PA law related to beehives. And we didn't have anything in our ordinance that matched what the PA law was. And so this would just take it to the next, put it within our ordinance in that way.
Great.
Okay, but have there been any complaints or concerns?
No, it has not been, but this is being maybe proactive in encouraging folks if they want to get into beekeeping.
So have you also given this to Wade Pollock, because he was responsible for putting a beehive in our meadow?
I have not, because I mean, this would specifically be, yes, and it would be something we would.
I think he'd be interested in
Yeah.
hearing this.
Yeah.
So we can all digest that, give information back, but that's great because I know people, I myself wanted to have a beehive on my property and there was some concerns about liability, especially neighbors, and there's other things that we have to be aware of. So that's great. And I really appreciate Jack taking the initiative on that. That's awesome.
I have a question because I know we won't get the minutes from the meeting till next month. Sheila, you had mentioned there's 2 tabling events.
Yes.
And the first one is going to be October 9th,
September 9th, September
September
9th.
9th, and the other one is,
September 16th. So the first one will be Newtown Township Parks and Rec.
I've got that one.
Concert September 9th. We're gonna need 2 hours and the concert time hasn't been set specifically, but it usually is like a 5 o'clock to 7, but they have to vote on it, so I don't have a specific time. And Pints in the Square will be September 16th.
It's in the square.
Yeah, but that's gonna be a
The
6-hour,
16th.
September 16th,
Okay.
Saturday, yes. They're gonna be 6 hours, but we're only gonna be there for 3.
What time is the September 9th? Because I could volunteer for this. one.
The Parks and Rec Board
Yeah.
hasn't officially set up
Okay,
their
is it in
time.
an afternoon or an evening?
It's usually at like late afternoon, early evening concert. And until they make their flyer and set their time,
Right.
we're just speculating so we're just making you aware of it because it's important for us to have it. And we would definitely need 2 people at these events because this is how we connect with the community. All right, anything else for our agenda? Anything for August? Anyone want to add?
Not
And
at
just
this
one
time.
thing I want to remind us all, whenever we are sending out any emails to each other, we have to be very careful that when we send a broadcast to the entire EAC members, that we are very aware of the sunshine laws and that we only comment in a shared group things on if it's a general items and not anything specifically. So I just want to make you all aware about that.
Well, be careful on any comment.
On any
like-
comments.
Like if you send out information to each other, that's fine. Like if you just
Just general information.
general information that you're sending, or if you you're just doing that, but you can't start having discussion in an email
Yes.
about it.
You can individually speak with somebody individually if you have an issue you want to get clarity on, but not in any type of group format.
Right. The minute you start discussing in an email
Yes, you're done.
about it,
Even
you-
with just one person?
if it's just, if it's like, if you and Cindy were just having a conversation
Right.
back and forth, that's fine.
Okay.
But if it
If you have
starts
a
picking up a
thread,
third
three.
person,
Yes.
now you're a quorum
Yes.
and you can't do that.
So if there's information you want to share, you can share it individually, but we do not send anything out to the group that is in any way a concern.
Like, let me just say this.
I believe Steve said that we can send out information, we just can't
Can't.
start a dialogue.
That's
That's
my
correct.
understanding.
Like if,
Have there
like,
been
let's say-
instances where we
let-
have done that?
let-
We were kind of tethering close. We just got to be very sure that no one comments on things when we have like. you
yeah,
said.
like I always stay, when I send something to my board, for the Board of Supervisors, I put do not reply all. And immediately, and I say, this is for information purposes only, and then I send it to them.
All right.
That way I don't get into a discussion. And so like, if like, I know Cindy, you're gonna send out the land development piece that you're gonna write up. That's fine. Everybody gets to see it. That's not an issue. But you just can't then have a discussion about it.
Perfect. Great.
Okay.
All right, I think we are adjourned. Thank you.